So I'm finally getting around to making this video. I've had this figure for probably 3 or 4 weeks at this point. This is my third Dick Tracy figure. This is the blank. I also have Dick Tracy and Flat Top Jones. And if you think you know who the blank is, if you're thinking that it's Breathless Mahoney as played by Madonna, no, this is Frank Redrum. The character of Madonna, or Breathless Mahoney is played by Madonna. Uh, that was now there. Breathless Mahoney was a character from Dick Tracy, but that was just for the movie, the Warren Beatty movie that came out in 1990. Frank Redrum was a killer and a criminal. Um, when the storyline starts, it seems as if the blank is perhaps uh, a vigilante because he's killing criminals. But as time goes on, you learn no, that's although he is killing criminals, these were criminals from his gang. I reread the story arc, and it's a pretty good one. Um, the blank is going around killing members of his old gang, and the reason he's doing that is because during, I believe, an escape from prison, he was shot in the face and severely disfigured. And so the gang wanted nothing to do with him, and now he's taking revenge on them. So, of the various Dick Tracy villains, this was not high up on my list of ones that I would want, mostly because I'm really into facial sculpts, and he has no facial sculpt because he is the blank. So there's a few interesting things about this figure that I'm going to show. First of all, uh, Mezco does hats in a variety of different ways. Mostly they kind of peg in, but in this case it just sits on there. And they have sort of the advantage of the fact that he has very tight hair to his head. So there's no magnet, there's no nothing. It just sits on his head. The trench coat does not come on him, so I had to put it on him, and I'm going to tell you about that in just a moment. His belt, I don't love it. It kind of feels like a tie for like a loaf of bread, but it works. It does what it's supposed to do. I'll just remove that actually. Maybe I can't. Maybe I'll wait on that. So you can open it up. Now his suit does not open up at all. So you can't really see most of the figures that Mezco does with suits. You can kind of open them up, whether they're held with snaps or I think I've seen magnets used, but this one does not. So I think I would have to damage the figure if I were to open it. So I kind of like to see the dress shirt inside, but you can't. But it looks pretty neat. Now I'm going to show you something real quick, which is the box. And this was something that I noticed. So you see here how he's got, it looks kind of like a towel or something. And then on here, you see, you can see his collar and tie. Now, this is the towel that's supposed to kind of wrap around. And it's authentic, but I just don't think it works very well. I could put it under there, I suppose, but I don't think it. I think the figure, even though it's not accurate, I think the figure looks better. Oh, this darn thing! I think the figure looks better without the towel or whatever you want to call that thing. So in order to get the trench coat on, because it is super super tight, what I had to do was remove the hands, crank the arms back, not crank it, but pull the arms back, and then put it on. So I think it does look better. It looks significantly better with the trench coat on, but everything looks really nice. And I am definitely a sucker for tailored suits on a 1/12 scale figure. So we'll take a look at the things that come with him. He has a shotgun, and you can put this in here to simulate the shotgun being fired. You have a smaller gun, think he doesn't have a holster. So, nowhere to put his gun. But he can hold it. He's got some dynamite, which he did use in the movie, in this story, in the original story from 1937. Another muzzle blast, you can use that. I think you can use it with the shotgun, but also you can use it with his pistol. So there's the gun blast, but also you can have smoking gun. So there's a smoking gun. Also comes with a knife. And a second head. So this one actually does have a facial sculpt. This is what he looks like without the mask on. The mask was, they determined at the end, because they're, at least back in the 1930s, 40s, 50s, the stories were very grounded in reality. And so there was some question about whether he actually had no face, which is, of course, absurd because he could not breathe, talk, see, anything. But it was a cheesecloth over his face with something over top of it to give it a flesh-like appearance. But at the end, they do remove it, and you can see his face. He doesn't look that disfigured that he would get kicked out of the gang. And then we, of course, have all sorts of spare hands, and hands for holding guns, and hands for holding knives, and all sorts of stuff. But I don't think I'll have him, probably not have him holding anything. But overall, even though the blank, again, I wasn't really super excited about the blank because of the fact that he has no facial sculpt unless I swap it out. But this face, or lack of face, is certainly more iconic of the blank. If he's got a face, he's not the blank. So for sitting on my shelf, I'm definitely going to go with this look and not the facial sculpt look, because this is how he should look. So the only other figure that's been announced, and it was a while ago. Actually, what's funny is that Pruneface was announced way before the blank, and yet Pruneface has not been released yet. So I don't know how they got this guy out so much sooner than... I don't know if they have some issues going on with Pruneface, but I definitely would love to see more Dick Tracy figures. But they may be done. It's like G.I. Joe. They created 6, and as far as I could tell, they're done. They're not making any more because there hasn't been one announced in a long, long time. But overall, I think this figure's a winner, particularly if you're a Dick Tracy fan. And, I did a video several years back on the various other villains that I might like to see. But, of course, there's Tess Trueheart and there's Chief Patton and stuff. But I think that they may be done. That may be it. Sometimes... Mezco creates a few, and then they move on. So, anyway, that is the blank, Dick Tracy's villain, as done by Mezco.